Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome you all to our Community Redevelopment Agency hybrid. Why is it an echo? Hi, Ralph. Could you help us really fast? Redevelopment Agency meeting. You got it, Tom? You good? All right. Today is Tuesday, July 12th. It is 5:30 p.m. Call the roll, please.
Chair James,
Here.
Vice Chair Salvino,
Here.
Board Member Davis,
Here.
Board Member Llewellyn,
Here.
Board Member Odman,
Here.
CRA Director Chen,
Here.
City Attorney Boots.
Here. Thank you. Citizens' comments. Have we received anything, Tom? We have no citizens' comments. If you would like to address the board, you can fill out a request to speak form. Make sure no one's online. All right, we'll move right along to our administrative report.
Thank you, Chair James. And everyone, welcome to the CRA meeting. So glad to see you here. The first part, as usual, we have included our contact information on our administrative report. We want to encourage the public to reach out and stay in touch with us, see what's going on, and be sure to come and ask us questions when you have them. As to the CRA plan update, I want to advise you that following your direction, we have amended the scope of work to include a strategic plan for the patch as directed. It will be the additional of a $5,500 addition, but it will not affect the time frame of the completed product. In terms of the Dania Beach Innovation Ecosystem, I'm proud to announce a new program for our Dania Beach Business Academy. We're doing the first-time homebuyer program. The 4 classes will deal in advantages and challenges of home ownership and home buying tips for South Florida. The second program will be financing your home purchase. The third week of the program will be credit repair and strategies for making down payments. And the fourth week will conclude with Broward County Affordable Housing Program. That is running through the month of August, starting August 10th, 17th, 24th, and 31st. These are free programs. Feel free to go online and register. We've getting a lot of real positive feedback from the Academy programs. For Dania After Dark, we had a really nice Dania After Dark this past Saturday. We had the opening band of Soul, which I heard a lot of positive comments on, and they were followed by Magic Mojo, Ike, and Lady Val. We had a good assortment of food trucks and a pretty wide assortment of vendors. I guess reflective of the beautiful weather that we had on Saturday, the event took a little while to get people, but by the time we started getting dark, we had a nice crowd that started showing up. In terms of economic development activities, we're still looking for budgets associated with pending facade grants. This past month, Bill has made 14 Bravo visits to businesses around Dania Beach. Again, our objective is to meet our businesses, try to understand what's on their plate, what their ambitions, as well as what their challenges might be, and to let them know that they have an advocate in City Hall. The patch has continued with some of its volunteer programs. There's strong support going on with that. A special shout out to Invitation Homes. They not only have been sending volunteers, but they wrote a $2,000 donation check as well. And Parks and Recreation has been arranging summer camp visits and field trips to the patch during June to honor Fruit and Vegetable Month. And there's group photos attached for your review. And with that, that's the end of the admin report. Thank you.
One question about the facade grant inquiries. So are Shenanigans and the home designing, are they through the process or is still not completed?
No, in fact, as soon as we get a qualified application, we're going to bring it to you because we want to process it as quickly as possible. Of course, you're getting for shenanigans. They have dropped the priority of their facade improvement because they had some roof repairs that they had to do instead. But we hope to bring them back to the table soon.
What, and I want to know what's the plans because we currently, then that means we currently have no one um, as a grant applicant or anyone that we've had to uh, look at. It's been months now. So, what is the plan in order to get people um, in this program that we have?
We're doing everything we can to put the notice out about the opportunity of the facade grant program. That's one of the things that Bill talked about when he does the Bravo visits to the various businesses around the city. Um, but you know, I think there's still some tightness to the economy. I think it is very difficult for some of these businesses to get construction estimates. So I think that's part of the problem. We can't process an application unless we have an estimate from a licensed general contractor. That is a requirement of the program.
Okay, thank you, Board Member Davis.
Thank you, Chair. When you said the Bravo visits, just for a refresher for myself and maybe for the public, can you just kind of go into a little bit more detail about what happens during those visits and the purpose of it? Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I don't quite understand the Bravo title to it. What this means is we go out and we meet first face to face with our business owners. Our objective is, again, to introduce them to the CRA, to let them know that we're here and we're here to try to service them. Part of this is to let them know of programs we have, such as the facade grant program, such as the Dania Beach Business Academy, other things that we're trying to do to support them. Uh, to me, one of the important things in these conversations with these businesses is to understand what are their ambitions, where do they want to go, and what do they see their challenges to get to, and to then go from that and determine if there's things we can do to put together programs that would assist them to be more efficient and more successful in their ambitions. So, in general, the Bravo is a kind of a meaningless title, but that's what they're called. And I have to admit, I picked that up from the Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance. That's what they call it.
So I just wanted to make sure it wasn't an acronym that stood
It's
for
not.
something for specific that had to do with business. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Presentations, the Emerging Arts District downtown in Dania Beach.
Thank you so much. I have to admit, I am very enthusiastic about bringing this to you tonight. Um, the Arts and Entertainment District was reflected as among the highest priorities, I think, by the entire CRA board. This came out in discussion in an earlier workshop. It has also been on the CRA plan, on the economic development plan since 2012, and our current 2015 CRA plan. And it's reflected that we should be developing both an entrepreneurial district as well as an arts and entertainment district, and find ways to encourage businesses and arts-based businesses to come to the city, especially in our district. Um, just to clarify, because there can be a lot of interpretation as to what's meant by an arts district. So I did some research and created some bullet points from people that would be regarded as pretty good authorities on what makes an arts district and what's the characteristics. My sources were the Urban Land Institute, the San Francisco Bay Planning and Urban Research Association, the Art Times Journal, and the City of Seattle Arts and Cultural Districts Division. Things that collectively these resources suggest is that we should establish a unique identity, beautify and animate the area, and particularly figure out how to repurpose underutilized buildings. The district should include multiple attractions such as shopping, dining, arts galleries and facilities, and events. Vitally important, the district should have a combination of core activities that include teaching, developing, and showcasing of the arts. Purposes to foster civic and neighborhood pride and create social cohesion. It is very important to attract new investment, businesses, restaurants, and tourists to the district. And part of its purpose is to increase new businesses generated by residents or graduates of local colleges. In other words, how to stimulate local grown businesses. We should make a special effort to recruit creative businesses into the community, arts technology businesses seeking research, testing, and manufacturing space. So in other words, it's not just your traditional arts, but it's creative efforts of all types that might also include engineering, architecture, advertising. These are all art-based business showing creative, the need for creative talents. And the final piece of this, part of the arts district, is that it makes communities safer and it deters crime. So the CRA has worked with a number of existing arts-based businesses. We have been trying to get to know our existing resources that are in this area and trying to work with them to expand their role and activities within our arts district. We have also reached out to identify new resources to bring into the district, some perhaps artists or arts-based businesses that would serve as catalyst businesses to give Dania Beach some recognition in the South Florida art scene. Currently, if you talk about arts in South Florida, Dania Beach probably doesn't come in early in that conversation. We need to make that change, and that's done by stimulating with bringing in businesses that bring their own recognition with them. And part of this is we also want to expand and build on with what we have so that we create the critical mass that justifies us declaring that we have a Dania Beach Arts and Entertainment District. Tonight, we've invited some very special guests for you. We want to introduce you both to some of your existing resources, but some of your new generation that's going to be making up the Dania Beach Arts District. And I want to start this by introducing someone that's well known to you. Representing our Public Art Advisory Board, if I could ask Lloyd Baretsky to please come to the podium. Please tell us a little bit about Arts District.
Thank you. Pleasure to see you all again and be in front of the board. I was very honored to be part of the first meeting of the Public Arts Board. We had the meeting about a couple weeks ago, and our first meeting was quite productive, even though it was our very first. One thing I can say about the meeting, it is very diverse. It is it includes every aspect from the community that you might want to include. And in our first meeting, we were able to establish certain guidelines and goals that we want to include and be part of the decision making and the things that we accomplish in the board. One of which is bringing to the attention of all of those little hidden gems that are in the city that people don't really know about. We plan on using public art as a means to bring people into the community and also tie the community together that we already have. Public art is a way to bring people to a destination. And Dania Beach already has so many hidden gems that these destinations need to be brought to life. So I want to thank the board again for encouraging the Public Art Board to exist. It is headed by Commissioner Davis, who does an outstanding job bringing ideas and refreshing thoughts and things that the that the community, the board, there wasn't a way for these types of things to be accomplished. But now there is, thanks to the Public Art Board. And I want to thank you for allowing us to exist and be a part. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I actually want to share some of the excitement that I'm feeling about tonight's presentation. And I'll ask Keisha Eugene of our office. She's going to introduce the rest of our presenters tonight. Keisha?
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, board members, city staff, and members of the public. I am Keisha Eugene, the Strategic Communications and Outreach Representative for the Dania Beach CRA. And this evening, I'm facilitating the order of the presentation for the Dania Beach Arts and Entertainment District. So our first presenter will be Mr. Robert Stern of Robert Stern Art Glass. Thank you, Monica.
Hi, hello everyone. Thanks for having me. Nice to meet all of you and see you again. Um, who's operating this?
Can you give us your address for the record, please?
My address?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my new address here is 110 Northwest First Street here in Dania Beach.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. So I'm coming from Wynwood Arts District in Miami. I've been there for 25 years. And I also work up in Lake Worth at a place called Benzighton Center for the Arts. And so it occurred to me that the Dania area was a great sort of halfway point between those places. I first got involved here with the W. Moda Museum, collecting some of my work, so that brought my attention to Dania, and then I've started meeting a whole bunch of folks here that were behind the idea of this new arts district, and so it quickly got my attention, and so we've started to already plant some roots here. So go ahead and advance the slide. Do I do that here? Oh, so I have about a 35-year history of working in glass. Work all over the world. Started with Chihuly. You may know who that is, Dale Chihuly out in Seattle. And I show in museums and galleries internationally. Go ahead and advance. And so that allows me to really have a broad reach, both in education and in the professional art world with glass. This is in the Czech Republic. I have a lot of connections and working in Europe for many years. So bringing the international community to Dania or wherever I may be is a big part of what I can bring. Go ahead. So some of you may know about the hot glass practice, but this is essentially kind of what it looks like. We work with glass and a big team of folks, which I generally cultivate and have at different places all around the world that I work together with, and many of them travel with me. So that's another part of what I bring to the community. Go ahead. And so in doing so, I teach at all of the top institutions around the world. The summer is usually a lot of schools have their summer programs, which are short programs, but I also, so the summer is eaten up with my time a lot with the traveling, but I also teach at different community centers and universities around the country and world. So it's a really broad reach to bringing people to the art form and hopefully to the community itself. Go ahead. Finally, in the next couple of weeks, they're going to air a program on Netflix, which is a new development. It's in its third season, and I'll be featured on that. So you'll get to see some of that of my handiwork there, but also part of the community that I work with, and you'll see what a really fantastic art form that it is. So it's my hope that we can set up shop here in Dania and grow this art form in South Florida. Thank you.
I am a fan of Blown Away. I wouldn't be in those high temperatures, but I'm a fan of watching it from the air conditioning.
I'm looking forward to participating in the class, Robert. So soon and very soon, hopefully. Next, we have no stranger to the city of Dania Beach. This business owner has been here for a while. Very unique company. Jason Winnig of Creative Workshop, who's going to give us an overview of his business. Come on.
Everyone. A lot of you guys I know, some of you have actually been to our facility before. So we work with cars.
Address.
Sorry, Jason Wenig on a Creative Workshop, 118 Hill Street, right next to the post office and the fire station, the old barn. Hard to even say this out loud, but I've been here for 20 years now. Moved out of New York City. I'm an ex-advertising and marketing executive out of the city. And just for the record, quite a shock coming from Gramercy Park and coming down to Dania Beach 20 years ago. And I just absolutely love what's going on right now. It's wonderful to see the cranes and buildings, and it sounds crazy, but a little traffic, it shows energy, it shows life, and it's wonderful. The company, our company has grown in the middle of that as well, albeit always on the confines of the old barn wall, but we have international scope. I always have difficulty explaining to people what we do because uh, wonderfully, cars touch everybody, and everybody has a connection with cars in one way, shape, or form. But what they don't understand is there's echelons to cars, and proud to say we operate at the very top echelon. And so, if you equate this, I always try to figure out a way of putting it into terms that some people might understand. But um, we all watch horse racing like Kentucky Derby, and you have these famous trainers, and they have these incredible places that work with billionaires that have farms that go from Saudi Arabia to all over the world. Well, in Dania Beach, we have a car version of that, which is Creative Workshop. We work with the top collectors in the world, some of the wealthiest individuals in the world, with some of the rarest, most dynamic artifacts that happen to have four wheels in the world. At any given moment, somebody could be uncovering something from an archive or from a hidden cell or bunker in Europe, like finding a Da Vinci or a Picasso or Michelangelo, and the world didn't even know it existed, and it will be shipped to us in boxes, and we will spend 2 to 3 years forensically restoring that piece of artwork that could range in value anywhere from $500,000 to, well, what just got sold privately, $130 million car, the most valuable Mercedes-Benz car, classic car ever sold. Before that, we were all proud to say that $75 million cars are being sold. And in any given event that I go to, there is typically multi-million dollar cars being sold, and several of them have gone through our facility. We recruit globally. Very few of these skill sets remain. Very interesting to follow on the heels of a glass blower, which is very interesting art form. We just had an event I'll talk about in a second, where I had another student of Julie there, Melanie Cech, C-E-C-H. She teaches in Tampa. We can talk about that later. But I work with institutions for education. Last summer, I wrote articles for the Chamber of Commerce to help support the industry, which is a billion-dollar industry. But at the root of it all is this wonderful barn with upwards of 20, we're 23 employees right now. Almost all of them I've shipped in from out of state and moved here. And we consistently restore, build, and show some of the finest automobiles on the planet Earth with some of the wealthiest people on the planet Earth. A lot of names you might even be recognized with, you might recognize at glorious, wonderful venues from Pebble Beach to Amelia Island to Lake Como in Italy, Mille Miglia, Hampton Court, Chantilly Palace in Paris, and so on and so forth. And so it's a highly specialized business. I am thrilled to hear the word art over and over again. I come from a strong art background. Family was in theater and in teaching and in poetry and in music, including science and whatnot. And so to hear and be surrounded by conversations of art, knowing that we talk about our art of the automobile normally, it's a pleasure. And so, other than any questions I can ask, that's a little overview of kind of who we are and what we do.
I just have one question.
Sure.
What are the functions of a multi-million dollar vehicle?
Yeah. That's so funny. It's an absolutely fantastic question. Most of them don't actually function that well because they're 100 years old. Uh, it's the same question, which I'll throw back at you and say, what is the function of $100 million statue of the David? So when you go to Louvre and you walk up and you see David standing there, does it move you or does it not? Do you associate that piece of art with history, with evolution, with who we are as human beings? The automobile, perhaps more strongly than most art forms, is intrinsic to who we are. From, from the physicality of mobility, which transformed America, ability to go from one coast to another, to a representation of who we are, the rocket age, the chrome age, the sports car age, to expressions of freedom and excitement, getting in a car and going for a drive to the beach. If you think about it, not only globally, but especially as Americans, Route 66 in Southern California and the Bonneville Salt Flats, it is part of the fabric of who we are. Just like a runway dress, you can go to Barney's, you can buy a suit, and you can go to Fashion Week in New York City, and the dress that Louis Vuitton or Vera Wang put on that model is considerably more important than the one you find in Bloomingdale's. In our car world, it operates exactly the same way. There are famous designers and what we call coach builders, people who literally build the cars by hand, incredibly famous. They will design and build a car that is presented to the public that all of our other cars watershed from, all the designs of the cars watershed from. What we specialize in is those Vera Wangs that go to Fashion Week. Now we have our fun cars, of course, because people love cars, but even the more mundane cars we have, they're very special, extraordinarily rare, highly provenance, unique features that transform the automobile after the fact. The first mid-engine race car, the first hydraulic brake car from 1932, the very first car that ever had chrome on it before the nickel age or after the nickel age, and so on and so forth. These things define rarity, provenance, and the values go along with it.
I love your passion. Thank you. Oh, one second. Sorry.
As soon as she turns, okay. I just want to make a comment that I have been your place, and I have to say that it is an unusual place. I mean, you have some of the most spectacular vehicles I've ever seen in my life, and I've always been a car fan as growing up. And what you do to those things, it is amazing how you can bring them back to life again. And your speech, which was very passionate about that, was intriguing because you're right. All that brings back all the memories of everybody from God knows when to now, and it's just that's amazing what you guys can create over there. And I'm glad you're in Dayton Beach.
All right. Next, we have Marshall Stober of Art Dania.
Thank you. So I'm a little different, I guess. I'm an artist as well, but I'm in the practice of art of medicine. I'm an orthopedic spine surgeon. So
I need your name and address.
Marshall Stauber, and it's 110 Northwest First Street. The So I'm an orthopedic spine surgeon. I was born and raised in Florida. And I always tell people that I still recall going to Pirates World down on Sterling Road here. So I don't know about most of these people, but I predate most of you guys, maybe in a lot of the board members as well. I love Dania. I think it's a great place. And recently, I was able to purchase one of the buildings as an old warehouse that was being used as basically a storage dump, and I've been trying to convert it into something that's more functional. So those of you who have come to it, I met with, I know Joyce Davis, Michael, I think Ms. James, Mrs. James, Chair, I think you might have stopped by there. Somebody told me. And with the addition of Rob Stern, I think this is going to be a very unique starting point for this area. I think what we're offering something there that is unfortunately going to be somewhat of a lost gem as these big new buildings go up. Hopefully, we'll keep some of the older buildings like your place and so forth, so that people can see what the original Dania actually, the 1-story, 2-story places as well. So I like the construction. I love the construction, but hopefully we'll be able to maintain some of the uniqueness as well. And what we're trying to do at this location, I call it Factory 110, is create a place of art, essentially, that people can come to and enjoy art. And I'm actually hopefully going to, in the future years, we're going to start something called, just like they have Art Miami and some of the other places. I want to start something called Art Dania. Hopefully, it just won't take place in my facility because it's not big enough. But um, the goal would be to have a place that people can come to and see some wonderful art. Um, and that's about it. And also enjoy themselves. We have a nice cafe there. Somebody wants a nice cup of coffee and sit around and hang out. That's what we're trying to do at our place, Factory 110. So I want to thank Michael Chen and actually Bill that has reached out to us and has tried to steer us towards the grant program actually. So hopefully in the future we'll be applying for some of the things. I've just been doing it because I wanted to. When I took it over, it was non-functional, so I've just been putting money into it, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to apply for some grants for the place as well. So again, I want to thank Michael and Bill, put a shout out to them, and also the Rob who actually is giving us a chance. So thank you very much.
Hold on one second. Board Member Davis.
Yes, Marshall, thank you for your presentation. I just want to make sure that people really know what you have going on right there. I mean, you really kind of glassed over it a little bit, saying you have a little cafe. But there's a whole vision that kind of goes with what you're doing. It's an ambiance, it's a vibe. You already have amazing art that's in there right now. And I just think, we'd be remiss if people, really didn't understand what your true concept is for that place with a little more detail and just,
Sure,
um, you know, knowing when it's going to be, open for the public and everybody to see what you're actually doing there because it's quite amazing.
sure.
Thank you.
So when we took, for those of you who don't know the place, it was right around the corner from here. Essentially, it was small bays that were roll-up doors that people kept their trailers in the parking lot. So what we did is we removed about half of the roll-up doors and converted them into hurricane window doors and so forth. Um, we just actually got the full permitting of it, so thank you guys. Um, and then we opened up in the first phase a cafe, so there's a place that people can come to and sit down, outdoors, indoors, and so forth. And so that's been really special. And we opened up a small art gallery initially with some local artists from Florida. Um, that's probably going to change now that Rob Stern is going to be there. It's taken on a whole new life. The vision, like I say, is ultimately to one to finish what we're doing with the building itself. The second is we permitted to every month, the second, just like the day after dark, the Saturday and the Sunday. We're going to actually be Saturday, Sunday. Hopefully, have events. What I have noticed is because of the weather in the summer and so forth, it's almost impossible to have wet, invite people. So ultimately, what I will probably do is permit the put a basically an overhead aluminum, whatever you want to call it, cover, so that we can have events in the parking lot on Saturdays and Sundays and not have to worry so much about the weather. Because right now, if you come out there and you set up your tent and so forth, and it's a bad day, everybody has to close up, so it makes it very difficult. So long term, I'm hoping that that's going to be just a really spectacular place to come to, enjoy themselves. I don't make my living from it. I certainly have a passion for it. I put a lot of time and effort in there, and so I think it's going to be spectacular. I want it to be something that's fun. I don't know any other way to say it. So stop by, and I think you'll enjoy it.
Thank you.
Okay, and next we have Mark Cameron of Junkanoo Restaurant. Mark?
Good evening,
Good evening.
commissioners, board members. My name is Mark Cameron. I am a fine artist and a chef. I was really excited when I,
Can I have your address before you start,
I'm
please?
sorry, it's at 12260 Northwest 24th Court in the city of Plantation Acres.
Thank you.
When I heard that you were going to have the arts and entertainment district, I was very excited about it because this is precisely what I did when I lived in California many years ago. I came here about 9 years ago to the vintage motorcycle event that you have here. I am a motorcycle fan. I've always restored motorcycles, you know. and and so when I came here, I had an affinity to the to Dana Beach, which reminded me a lot of San Diego. It's a beautiful city close to the ocean type city, and I've always tried to be a part of what's going on here in Dana Beach. I've always been speaking with the city manager and different people from time to time. And it seems as if we're going into a direction that is more in sync with where I'd like to be. And the arts and entertainment district is, like I said before, is up my alley. For many years, I started the Oceanside Days of Art. I'm sorry, the Taste of Oceanside, the music festival, where I incorporated other local restaurants in my particular area to showcase the city in which I lived. I was a chairman of the Oceanside Days of Art for 2 years, which is one of the biggest art festivals in San Diego. And as an artist, I was able to vet the different artists that came through to create the best experience for the people that lived in our city. Just a short correction, she mentioned Jocono. I do not own Jocono. I built it. I got involved by default. A friend of mine Dr. Gray, who actually started the project, asked me to help her build it because she was having difficulty with the contractor. And since I'm also in the building realm, I got involved, but I didn't really get involved as much in the culinary because that was not what I was asked to do. However, things got a little difficult, and I had to take it over. I had to go into Dukono, and I became their executive chef for 6 months, training people how to do the food properly. It also allowed me to place my art in the restaurant and engage as I did before many years ago when I had my own restaurant called the Caribbean Grill. This is really an exciting time for Dania Beach, in my opinion. I think a lot of elements are coming together, and the presenters before me are further inspiring me to be a part of what I see can be a good business venture here in Dana Beach. One of the things that I heard in the presentations prior was the need to reach out to educate and to teach. I was approached by Denise Grant from the city of Lauderhill to do a summer program teaching the kids how to paint, which I did for about 2 years. Then COVID hit, then things got sidelined. But in my business model, it's an integral part of the restaurant that I'm trying to do here in Dana Beach. It involves a restaurant and a gallery. And I believe in stimulating most cities, I think entertainment aspect is very important. We are competing with a lot of different cities around, and as you know, to get their dollars, I mean, it's something that we have to fight for, and we have to next possible. We have to provide the best quality product that will put Dania Beach on the map. And in addition to doing the restaurant, I have rebranded my sauce that I've had for over 20 years, original Jamaica jerk. And I'm going to use my facility to also produce my sauce. When it gets to the level that I had before in California, then I'll probably vend out what I do. I'm still not going to be doing, 1,000 cases a day, as before. But I think part of my business model is to teach the local residents how to be part of the culinary side of things. I've always taught my chefs how to prepare the food. I'm not only doing Jamaican food, but I'm also doing a soul Cajun blend, which worked in California at the Caribbean Grill. I would like to say that I have built about 6 restaurants, and I take my food seriously. It may not cost $1 million, but you will definitely have an experience that you can be proud of. I would like persons that come to my restaurant. I'd like my restaurant to be a destination point. I like my restaurant to be one to be boasted about. I've cooked on 4 networks: Fox, ABC, CBS. I'm not sure where it's not going, but and recently I was part of a competition among 9 Caribbean chefs, which I won, the Caribbean Sorry. And I think the diversity of my food is in sync with the need that we have here in Dana Beach. As you know, the ethnic side of the culinary side, we're a little lacking in that area. And I hope to represent um, my community, which I hope Dana Beach will be a place where I can call my home, having been here for all these years, engaging. Um, so, just looking forward to the opportunity. And if you have any questions, I'd appreciate any questions. That
Do you have a location in Dania Beach?
I looked on 2 areas, and we're talking about within the last 7 years, seriously looking on locations. And I engaged with the former CRA director.
So you're looking for a location.
I found a location. I found 2 locations that I've found like it's 7 years ago. And I've been talking to, at the time I was speaking to the CRA director about a location that I identified that I thought would be,
What
would,
location is that?
it's by, it's by the railroad. I have it written down. It's by the railroad track.
Is it in the district?
Yes, ma'am. It's in district.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, if I may, we have been talking with Mark about a potential location at the Pippin Waiters location. It would be the far west side of the district, but it would be considered part of the front neighborhood, if you will. And he will make a proposal as part of our notice for proposal.
But it's not in this Dania Beach district that you're presented with everyone else?
Well, again, the district, we've reflected this around the federal highway corridor,
Mm-hmm.
but it actually extends beyond just federal highway. There are things going on to the west of it that could be included, and there are certainly things that are going on East Dania Beach Boulevard, and in fact, you can even go further south than what this map reflects. The thing about this map, it's a work in progress, and I actually hope that we need to update it to you almost every month. So the idea of an arts district really is to be an inclusive district rather than an exclusive.
What else would be in the location where you're proposing? That's the location where we propose the townhomes, I believe you're speaking of, but what else is there that will help a restaurant thrive? Uh, I mean, I'm just saying, if we're talking about the arts and entertainment district, I believe the best place for Mark's restaurant to thrive would be in the arts and entertainment district. that everyone else is presenting from. But I guess we can discuss that at a later time. I just find it odd that
May I say,
that's not a current district. Those are not that's not a current arts and entertainment district. That's a residential community.
okay, may I add something to this as well?
Yes.
The area at Pippin Wafers is a secondary one. The first one is right across the railroad track. I'm not sure the exact address right now, but um, it's actually right by the railroad track. One of the reasons why Pippin Wafers was a little more in terms of my business plan, more feasible is that it's in a commercial district. Right beside it, the property is a junkyard. I'm sorry, not a junkyard. Beg your pardon?
It's the auto place, and then it's Truly right next to it, correct?
The one that you're the initial one, the first one we were talking about was the auto place where they did auto repairs.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the one I'm talking about now, but that's the first. That was the first one I looked on, which was right beside, which is right beside railroad tracks. However, the one at Pippin Wafers has it has good visibility, which I'm not really that concerned about because I think the promotional avenues that I'm going to use will turn that any area in Dana Beach into a destination point.
So the areas you're talking about are the CRA owned lots.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, up next we have Dr. Nicole Stoddard of Thinking Cap Theater. Hi.
Hi, everyone. I am Nicole Stoddard, as she said, and my address is 1636 Northeast 5th Court. I live in the city of Fort Lauderdale. I don't trust myself with what's up there, so I have my cheat sheet here. Yes, I sure will. Okay, so the theater company I'm about to tell you about is called Thinking Cap Theater, and I am the founding artistic director. Next slide, please. We are a professional theater company. I put that at the top because I take great pride in it. We are all about the community, but we are not a community theater. And the reason for that distinction is that we pay everyone who works so hard on our productions. Community theater is typically volunteer. We are all paid professionals. We are a 501c3 federal nonprofit in addition to a state nonprofit, which means that we do not survive on ticket sales alone. We work really hard writing grants and seeking donors and funding so that we can continue to exist, pay our artists better, and increase our programming. We've been around for a dozen years now. We worked previously in the city of Fort Lauderdale out of a space called the Vanguard over by the hospital on Andrews Avenue. And we recently have relocated here to the city of Dania Beach to Mad Arts. We are thrilled to be here, and hearing everyone speak so far, there's a lot of excitement about the new developments in the city. So we're really, really looking forward to being a part of that. In our 12-year history, we've presented 35 main stage productions. Would have been more, but the pandemic put us into virtual mode, which we all know is not the same. Next slide, please. The four cornerstones of our mission: we present plays that experiment with theatrical form. So not all well-made plays with a clear-cut beginning, middle, and end, but plays that make you think. And we think form is connected to meaning. So that's innovation and experimentation are cornerstones of our mission. We present plays that engage social issues and spark conversation. We present plays that depict the diversity of our society. Our country and the world has been in a state of wake-up call for the last several years, but equity, diversity, inclusion, and access have been a cornerstone of our mission since our inception. And we also present freshly reimagined classical plays, Shakespeare, Aristophanes, you name it, old and older. We also present them, but in new, fresh, creative ways. Next slide, please. Some of our core objectives as a theater company are, one, to bridge the gap between artistic experimentation and audience accessibility. That means that we are not experimenting just for the heck of it or to dumbfound our audiences, but in order to actually unite audiences and artists and keep the theatrical form alive through experimentation. We promote gender equity, diversity, and inclusivity in not just our audience development, but also on stage and off stage. We were champions of an initiative called 50-50 in 2020. We're past that moment. It didn't work, so we're still working at it, but it was a national initiative that we were participating in, which was to ensure that when theaters program seasons, that they are programming plays by men and women, and now we can also say non-binary artists equally. Over the course of our 12-year history, we've done that by prioritizing that as an objective. So half of the plays that we've presented have been written by men and half by women and a few by non-binary playwrights as well. So very important to us. Another objective, which I will continue to reiterate, is that we work really hard to fairly compensate our artists and our staff. We work with both union, Actors Equity Association actors and non-union actors. We see ourselves as serving as an educational resource for both professional artists and non-professional artists, people in the community who have always felt like there was an artist inside of them dying to get out. They've always wanted to write a play or be on stage. We have created curriculum to provide that kind of programming to people in the community. We work to develop community-based arts projects that represent the diversity of South Florida. And we work to build relationships with the Broward community and the greater South Florida community with other nonprofits and also other business entities. Next slide, please. Next slide. Sorry. Oh, awards, okay. So over the course of our 35 productions, we have earned some nominations and awards. I've listed a couple of the logos here through Broadway World, the Miami New Times, Silver Palm Award, and the Carbonell Awards, which is sort of South Florida's version of the Tonys, and also Best of South Florida through the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Next slide, please. This is a production shot from the only in-person production that we presented in 2020. It is a play called Happy Days by the Irish playwright Samuel Beckett, who was known for experimentation in theatrical form, very absurd comedy about an elderly couple. It is a play that takes on themes like marriage, aging, dignity in aging. Next slide, please. This is a production photo from a play called Precious Little by a playwright named Madeline George. We presented this in 2019. It is a play about a linguist who learns that her unborn child may have neurological issues and ironically be challenged with speech. Next slide, please. This production shot is from a play called Crooked by Catherine Trishman. It was a play about two teenagers from very different parts of the country, very different religious backgrounds, racial differences, and it is a play that shows how they forged a great friendship in spite of all their differences. Next slide, please. This is a production photo from a play called Dance Nation by a playwright named Claire Barron. I included this photo because, not only because it's funny, because we have a lot of older actors in this shot, and they're intended to play 13-year-olds that are part of a dance competition. But it's an experimental piece in keeping with our mission, and at the end of 2019, it was shortlisted for the Pulitzer Prize. So I include this because Sometimes experimental art of any discipline, whether we're talking fine arts or performing arts, can get a bad rap as just being weird. Other times we find that it actually is really innovative and meaningful, and critics, including Pulitzer judges, are starting to see the merit in art that takes chances and challenges audiences. Next slide, please. Only 2 more photos. This is from a production that we did of Shakespeare's King Lear. We adapted it to the mid-20th century. And if you know the play, you know that there is the title character at the start of the play divides his kingdom among his daughters very rashly and spends the whole play with his mind sort of unraveling. So when we staged it with contemporary issues around dementia and Alzheimer's, and engaged experts and had talkbacks. And that's something that we do with every production if we can, to engage experts in other disciplines, either within the arts or outside of the arts, and social services, healthcare. There are all sorts of fun and meaningful ways that theater connects to other sectors. Next slide, please. And I should say, actually, we're in the process of finishing up an NEA grant right now for a production that'll be in a year from now of Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew. This production photo is from our most recent production and our first in-person production since the pandemic, and also our first production at our new home here in Dania Beach at Mad Arts. It is a play called Fefu and Her Friends by the Cuban-American playwright Maria Irene Fornés. And if anyone saw it, if you didn't see it, shame on you. I'm sort of kidding. But it's it's an experimental piece in the sense that Fornés was innovating in site-specific immersive work, something that we have happening all around us in different museums and creative spaces today. But she was really at the front of this movement in the 1970s. And so we took over several different spaces in the Mad Arts building, and it became Fefu's home. Next slide, please. This is just some of our most recent grant funding organizations and sponsors. We've worked really hard to get support at the city and county level, the state level, and the federal level. Next slide, please. We've also launched a podcast. So the podcast series that we have running right now are episodes that pertain to the playwright whose work we just staged, Fornés, who wrote Fefu and Her Friends. The next installment of the podcast series will be connected to our December holiday show, which I'll say more about in just a moment. Next slide, please. Our current programming includes the 2 graphics that you see here. One is called The Importance of Being Me, which is an LGBTQ youth initiative. It is nationwide in scope. We've just launched it this month. It's largely funded by a private organization called Our Fund, and it includes a call for art by LGBTQ youth, both visual art and dramatic art. And there will be an actual public performance and exhibition of this artwork in October during LGBTQ History Month. The other graphic is for a piece of new programming that we created curriculum for called Stranger Than Fiction. It is a playwriting workshop, and we have a grant from the city of Fort Lauderdale to provide free workshops. We have 14 participants, local citizens who have never written a play before, have always, dabbled or dreamt about it. And this will have a public performance August 21st at the Bonnet House in Fort Lauderdale. Next slide, please. As someone who's crazy for Christmas, this project is very near and dear to my heart. We just were awarded a Florida Humanities grant for our December show, which is called Oh Christmas Tree. We are interviewing Florida Christmas tree farmers. There are actually lots of them. We forget about that here in South Florida. And we are going we're doing virtual interviews and also in-person site visits so that we can photograph the farmers in their element. In the fall, we'll launch the podcast series with interviews with all of these farmers. And we have a team of artists that are creating an original play with music that will be staged here at Mad Arts in December. Along with the exhibit, we'll have a panel of experts coming in for talkbacks. We have a scholar coming from University of Pennsylvania who writes about ritual and religion. We have a local rabbi and a minister who will also be part of that in December. So we're really looking forward to it. I thank you all so much for your time. It was great to meet everyone here for the first time. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Do you have a location in the district?
We are at Mad Arts here on Federal Highway, and you're going to hear. Are you calling it?
Okay, W Motors.
Formerly the Gallery of Amazing Things.
Okay, thank you.
Is that right? That's the one. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nicole Stoddard. That was a perfect segue for our next presenter, which is Juan Cantor and Tess Aptekin of We Are Mad. And following that presentation, we'll have Scott DiStefano presenting on their behalf as well.
I just want to make everyone aware of the time. We have a commission meeting at 7, and we need to end at least 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, so we can set up for that.
We'll be quick. I'm just waiting. I don't know if we have. That's there fine. It is.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Juan Cantor. I'm here with MAD. We're at 481 South Federal Highway, Gallery of Amazing Things. And I'm here to tell you a little bit about MAD and what we have going on just down the street. So if we could go to the next slide, please. So at MAD, we're very much community-centric. That's really at the heart of what we do. I believe that starts from within, and that's shown in how we treat our employees from our investment into their health and their well-being, and how we create a positive work environment. And without that, it's really not possible to do what we do there. So go to the next slide.
Can you go a little closer to the mic?
Oh yes, of course. Sorry.
There you go.
Okay, so at MAD, I'm proud to say that we are now 150 plus employees in 4 offices around the world, and this all started from a print shop. Oh, I'm sorry. I can get lower. Thank you. I appreciate that. And this all started from a print shop in Miami 20 years ago. And really, without executing on our beliefs, it wouldn't be possible to grow to where we are today. So if you could please go to the next slide. So up here, you see some of the companies that we've grown to work with. A lot of these are Fortune 500 and household names that you see. And also we work with a lot of startups, and we partner with startups that you may have never heard of, but we help them really get to the next level and grow with them. If you could go to the next slide, please. So at Mad Agency, we describe ourselves as a creative agency. And I know that's very broad and that covers a lot. We do a lot of the things that you would think a marketing agency does, from campaign, strategy, and branding. But we also do a lot more all-encompassing stuff and future thinking. We do a lot of website and app development. And I'd like to go to the next slide where you can see where I'm talking about the future thinking. So Mad Labs is a very exciting project that we've added recently. And here in Mad Labs is where we really, it's not even like we can think for today or for tomorrow, but much beyond that, because technology is evolving so fast that if we only think till tomorrow, we'll fall behind the 8 ball very quickly. So if we could go to the next slide, I'd like to show you a little bit about that. So I kind of like to think of Mad Labs is, if I were like 5 years old, it's the company that I would want to create. It's absolutely a digital playground. We play with virtual production, 3D rendering and mapping, VR, AR, and gaming. I'd like to show you on the next slide a little bit of what we've done. So here's a little example. On the previous slide, you saw a guy in a 3D motion capture suit. We actually had members from our Olympic breakdance team. They do exist. And we got them into our 3D suits in which they had a breakdance battle. We were able to animate that and upload that. It now lives in the metaverse. And that's a bit of a playful way of showing what we can do. But really, the metaverse, I'm sure maybe you've heard it, it's a big buzzword lately, or Web 3.0. But it's the next phase of the internet, and it's absolutely where companies will flock to. And it's where they will engage with their future customer base through community engagement and product branding. Next slide, please. So at MAD and MAD Arts as it lives there, art is very much a piece of our core, and we've very much been involved with artists in helping them create NFTs. NFTs are great because it gives artists a lot of ownership over their work versus as it's traditionally been. And we're really here to provide them that platform to move them forward with the innovation of art and how that integrates into our community. And a little bit more on that, up next I have Tess, and she's here to talk to you more about Mad Arts and what we have going on there in that department.
Hi there, thank you guys for having me. My name is Tess Aptekin, and I'm here with Mad Arts at 481 South Federal Highway. I'm a curator there, and I'm gonna begin by starting to tell you how we started. Back in 2016, we started by giving free studio space to artists that needed a project that needed completing. And once they completed that project, they would move on and we would give it to the next artist that needed the space. Once we bought the building in 2020, that plan kind of just exploded. And so since starting exhibitions in February of 2021, we've held about 15 exhibitions and we've collaborated with about 20 artists, local, nationwide, and international. Through those collaborations, oh, you can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Through those collaborations, we've partnered with Broward County Cultural Division, doing an annual event called Ignite. It's a light art event throughout Broward County. It's free to the public and it's held at MAD here in Dania and also in downtown Fort Lauderdale. Each year, the audience has grown immensely. We've gotten a huge audience that's shown up for these events. And because of that success, our newest project is that we're renovating our upstairs 17,000 square feet into an immersive art museum, similar to maybe what you've seen as a Meow Wolf or something like that. This one would be centered towards technology art, meaning interactive art, projection mapping, VR, stuff like that. Our projection is that we would get a 250,000 audience in our first year opening. And that would bring attention not only to MAD Studios, but also to Dania Beach as a hub for creatives alike. Along with the art museum, we are planning on doing programming for the community and the community's youth, teaching about technology and how it's a new art medium and how you can use it and promote yourself. Besides that, we're doing things in our yard, which I'll lead to Scott, that'll tell you a little bit more about that. Thank you.
Keisha, how many more presenters do we have? Okay, thank you.
Just me, and I'm quick. Good evening, everybody. My name is Scott DeStefano, 2410 Southwest 29th Way, Fort Lauderdale. I am here speaking on behalf of MAD as their architect of record. MAD Yard, my responsibilities are to create a built environment, both formally and spatially, conducive to the programming that MAD is putting together, and in a way that puts MAD and Dania Beach on the map, architecturally speaking. To that end, we are envisioning a project on the vacant parcels just east of the existing building that will use shipping containers as a building module. And can we go to the next slide? I think it animates. Oh, it didn't animate. All right, that last one was supposed to animate. Sorry. Anyway, yes, we're going to use shipping containers as a building module to create additional museum space, a food hub, which will be a co-work kitchen, allowing community members to work out of that kitchen, and basically as seeds for startup restaurant companies for the community. And of course, it would certainly provide food service for the functions going on in the building. I believe there's one more slide. Yes. The most important one. Thank you very much. With that said, I'd like to bookend Michael's presentation with a quick presentation.
We really don't have time for more
1 minute.
presentations. Okay, really quick.
It's 3 slides.
Okay.
No? Presentation 712?
Oh, that's the presentation. Board Member Ottman, say hi.
There we go. So I've been in conversation with Michael and Bill and various other people at the city for quite some time about this arts district. A quick map showing several of the core businesses, Marshall, um, Robert, Mad, and Gasper Arts, who is unfortunately not here with us today. But I'm involved as an architect with 3 out of 4 of those entities. Next slide, please. Um, Arts districts can be established because you've got a bunch of empty warehouse space and you can get cheap rent to a bunch of artists. We don't really have that here in Dania Beach. So there's another route that we can take, and that is to establish a sense of place with that district and then build off of those anchor businesses that we have. A couple of examples on the screen now is the Modern Age Arc down in North Miami. Also the sculptures that mark the gateway into the design district, and of course the Bean in Chicago, everybody knows. Next slide. A quick visioning of what the district could be. This one is a proposal that perhaps it's a monolithic structure that ties the entire art district together. Next slide, please. This one is a notion of maybe a repeated archetype that goes through the arts district, again, just serving to tie it all together. One more, please. And again, a vision of Mad Studio and maybe the possibility to take some of those void spaces along first and fill them in with some shipping container pop-ups to create some of that studio space and pop-up spaces for artists. Anyway, just something to think about from a conceptual standpoint. And thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
That is concludes our program.
Oh, consent agenda. Do we have any pulls? All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Proposal number is, I guess we'll go to board member comments. Board member Davis? Hold on.
Just want to quickly thank all of the artists and everybody who came out here this evening. You make Dania Beach so much more exciting with all the projects that are coming to us and to the CRA district. This is a vision, a long vision that we've been wanting to see for quite some time. So thank you for adding more to it. It makes it more exciting for us to call our city council. Thank you.
Thank you. Board, board member Llewellyn?
I'm going to defer my comments to the city.
Thank you. Board member Ottman?
No comments tonight. Thank you.
Vice Chair?
I'll make a couple quick ones because I know we're running out of time. Something I'd like to bring up, just a quick thing about the grant monies that we're using for the facade grants. So I do realize what some of the problems are that the contractors and materials and stuff like that. It is a little more difficult for us to have to get those grants out there. Besides that, some businesses are not doing that well, and the dollars that the match do not go very far anymore because of the cost of materials. I would like to have an update from the CRA in the areas of some of the things that are going on right now, like what you've created, what's been going on, what businesses that are coming into the city, what businesses have gone out of the city, one of my curiosities is, I haven't heard anybody talk about it. I brought it up to Bill, and I mentioned I haven't mentioned to you yet, Michael, but Checkers is down there as a empty restaurant, and it has a drive-through, which is now outlawed or don't allow anymore. So it's already grandfathered in. I'm very shocked that we don't have something going on there besides code violations. That's something else I'd like. So next meeting, if you can bring up, maybe updates on what businesses are stagnant, which ones are not, because the CRA district is I'd like to know what's going on with all that. But I'm sure the rest of the board would as well. Um, up the and all the other things that are happening that we're talking about in this district, it just seems like we're stagnant right now. And I mean, you bring up a lot of energy with like this here that we're having tonight. This is a good meeting, but some of the things we're talking about, I don't know where we are with the business. I think our business district, especially with talking about building in an area where we don't have any rack units available for another 2 years and things like that. And there's a lot of things I'd like to propose, but I'm not going to get into it tonight. We'll have a private meeting, bring it up the next meeting. But I think that we need to talk about some of the areas that people want to develop and we can't build it right now. So we're 2 years away from probably issuing the permit because there is no rack units available. So just some things. That's it. That's all for now. I got more, but it's getting late.
Thank you. I had a lot of things, but it's getting late. One of the things is that I want you to discuss the next time. The first thing, was there ever the appraisal done on the land requested that the vice chair asked about in the June board meeting? You asked for an appraisal?
Lots that were out there. We were talking about the lots that we were trying to find out the appraisals on the lots were whether we're going to put them up for sale or whether we're going to put some money back in CRA just in our coffers so we can have to do certain things in the programs. Have we done it? I thought you were going to get some idea of what the lots were valued at.
And we did that, and I thought it was reported back to you, but I'll be happy to provide that with you.
Okay, well, I guess
it was done.
Okay, I must have missed it.
Yeah, I missed it too. Another thing is, I just wanted to put on the record. I know that in the last meeting, you said that, and I provided the backup here, that we never discussed developing those properties on Pippin Waiters, but we did last year, and I have those meeting minutes available to you in your memo talking about the 4 adjacent parcels and put them up for development for multifamily housing, low density townhomes. And so I would like to go back and address those things because I think that we have a lot of opportunities in we're providing first time home buyers assistance with these programs. And I just want to make sure that we're also putting people in homes and focusing on putting people in homes in these communities and not just, building. I love the arts and entertainment district. That is something that we have envisioned for a long time, but I don't want to lose sight on the people that actually live in our CRA district and the other missions of our district. And so I definitely have, like I said, a lot more things to cover, but obviously we are pressed for time here. But I want to make sure that the community is involved in these decisions that we are making if we are going to not do these at-home Dania Beach phases and turn them into different projects that we didn't discuss beforehand. Um, thank you. And with that, nothing else. The meeting is adjourned.